So let me just take 15 seconds. Some of you took the training and know who I am, but many of you do not. So my name is Scott Burns. I'm a professional registered parliamentarian, but I hate to be the oldest person in the room. I didn't go to community college, but I was chair of the Student Senate at Sac State 1969 to 70. So there is life after this, right? So I do want to explain, first of all, that, Angie, oftentimes there's a table up here, and if there's a need for me to confer with the presiding officer, it's very easy to do so. But because kind of the setup, Angie and I kind of decided that because you have quite a number of resolutions to consider and a short time to do it, that it might just be expedient if I went ahead and ran this part of the program. So that's why I'm here. But I do want to clarify, if something comes up, a point of order or a question that's just a technical or procedural matter, then I will just handle it. But if something comes up that would ordinarily require a ruling of the presiding officer, then I will get together with Angie and she will actually make the ruling, perhaps with my advice. And then the last thing, Jack already kind of indicated, but you do have time limits. We do want to kind of make opportunity for as many people as possible to speak. So it's a 2-minute rule, but I always prefer to quote Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who said, be sincere, be brief, be seated. Okay? So the first item on your resolutions is the consent agenda, and you have 4 items on the consent agenda. And again, just as, actually before I get to the consent agenda, just a reminder, to my right is the pro microphone, to my left is the con microphone. Back in the center, at the rear of the room, is the interrupting mic. So let me just explain something very quickly about the interrupting mic. We don't ordinarily interrupt, but there are some parliamentary situations where you can. So if there is a point of order, or if you have a point of order, just go to the interrupting mic at the back, and we will recognize you at that time. If you have a request for information, formerly called point of information, but renamed in the 10th edition to make it clear that it's supposed to be a question, not giving information. So if you have a request for information or parliamentary inquiry, if it's a parliamentary inquiry, well, let me rephrase it. If you have a request for information or parliamentary inquiry and it's urgent enough to interrupt, you need to, it's going to affect the proceedings, and by all means go to the center microphone and interrupt. If it's just a question that, you could get in line at either the pro microphone or the con microphone and ask that, and it isn't urgent enough to interrupt somebody, then just use one of the other 2 mics and we'll catch you in turn. But again, if it's something that needs prompt attention, then the interrupting mic, and of course those of you who are on Zoom, just type point of order or request for information. Sure. So with that, we'll go on to the consent agenda. And again, for those of you that are not familiar with it, the consent agenda is a way of expediting the handling of resolutions that are thought to be either routine or not controversial, that we're kind of all on the same page. And the concept of a consent agenda is we're not going to debate them. We're not going to discuss them. They are before you. They will be adopted in toto. 1 vote will adopt the consent agenda. The rule is that if you feel one of them needs to be debated or discussed, then any delegate may ask that it be pulled. And if it's pulled, then we'll vote on the rest of the package, then go to the one that was pulled before we proceed with the rest of the items. So with that, you have 4 items on the, actually, I'm going to make myself a little comfortable here. You have 4 items on the consent agenda. Resolution S22-0103, equal student accessibility for broadband access and internet services. S22-0411, pronoun inclusive programs. S22-0413, syllabi resolution. S22-0415, no exams on Election Day. So let me ask at the outset, is there any delegate who would like to have one of these 4 items pulled for individual discussion? Yes. Okay, and could you, for the record, could you state your name and college? Okay, did you hear that? I didn't catch it.
Yeah, Solano delegate Ashley T.
Okay. Solano delegate, Ashley. Okay. And I should, one other thing I should explain, by the way, I'm hearing impaired, and while I wear, oh, okay. Somebody's at the interrupting mic? Oh, good idea. So if you do want to speak, we just handle this one now, but in the future, if you do want to do something, please go to one of the mics, because that way the people on Zoom can hear what's going on as well. But I should just explain, I'm hearing impaired, and even though I wear hearing aids, there's a big echo in this room. So if I, ask you 2 or 3 times, or I need to repeat something, it's no disrespect, and it's not you, it's probably me. So I appreciate your patience. So, S220415, no exams on election day, has been pulled. Are there any other items on the consent item to be pulled?
Chair.
In that case, we'll...
Chair.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
I would like, my name is Lisa Hogan. I'm from Merritt Community College. I'm wanting to pull S22.04.13.
Okay, S2204.13 syllabi resolution is pulled.
Thank you.
And, okay, there was some, it looks like they've, okay, are there any, so at the moment we have S220413 syllabi resolution pulled. Oh, yes. Oh, I'm sorry, and which college was that pulled that?
That was Merritt College.
There, thank you. Okay, if there are no polls, then the consent agenda before you consists of S220103, equal student accessibility for broadband access and internet services, S220411, pronoun inclusive programs. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Cerritos College.
I heard Cerritos College.
Motion
Okay.
to approve.
There's no need to second on the consent calendar, so the motion before you is to adopt the consent calendar. All, actually, all those in favor? Yeah.
Cerritos College.
Okay. If there's no objection, the consent calendar will be adopted. Are there any objections to adopting the consent calendar of 2 items? Okay. There being no objection, the consent calendar is adopted. Again, that was S220103 and S220411. Okay, so the first of the 2 items, we're going to do these in numerical sequence. The first of the 2 items pulled was syllabi resolution S220413. Oh. Yes, that is the first one. Oh, you mean in the order in which they were pulled? Okay. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Yeah, so the first of the 2 pulled items is S220413.
She means like, now we go on to regular business.
Oh, okay, your rule, okay, the rules say that we deal with the pulled items on the consent calendar first. Are we changing that? Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Correction, to make it easier to follow in your packets, we're going to go in numerical sequence, and we'll deal with the pulled items when we get to them in their normal order. So the first item before you is S220101, sponsored by the SSCCC Board of Directors, SSCCC Board and Regional Officer Minimum Qualifications. And so someone would like to move that, I presume someone from the board?
Oh, yeah. Is there a pro?
Who's moving it?
I apologize.
Who's moving it?
Chair, I recognize to be speaking in pro for this resolution.
Okay. Actually, and let me explain one thing here first. This is my first time with you, so I'm not familiar with your customs and practices. But when you have an agenda that consists of items submitted in advance and they're before everyone, the chair can presume that it has been moved and seconded and go to immediately to debate. There's no need to have a delegate rise to actually move it. So if there are no objections, that will be the procedure we'll use today. So at the pro microphone, Jack, please state your name and college.
Thanks, Scott. My name is Jack Hill. I'm from College of the Redwoods. I'm not a delegate. I'm a member of the board of directors for the SSCCC. And just to clear the confusion as to why I'm speaking about this, so this is a resolution, if you read through the whereases, that's been through the SSCCC a couple different times. It was introduced to the General Assembly in 2020, but then unfortunately it was struck down by our parliamentarian because the language wasn't proper, and it wasn't properly posted as a bylaws change, which it was deemed to be. And then it was brought back to the 2021 GA, and again, properly noticed, and a different parliamentarian ruled that the resolution should be referred to the SSCCC Board of Directors because the changes to the bylaws were not in proper bylaws language. So now that we have brought it back to the SSCCC Board of Directors, we have spoken with different parliamentarians, and we have come and been set on actual language that should be in accord with the different requirements for certain bylaws language. And what we are asking with this resolution, that the SSCCC adopt certain qualifications for both board of directors members, and that includes both board officers and directors themselves, and as well board regional officers as well. And that includes everybody on the regional board, from the RAD to the comms officers. And the reason for the language being somewhat ambiguous in both Section 6 and Section 4 is we want the SSCCC Board of Directors to have the authority to establish the nit and gritty of what those requirements will be. And I'll yield the rest of my time.
I'd like
Yes,
to...
at the con mic, please identify yourself first.
Yeah, that sounds good. So I'm Victoria, the delegate from Mount San Antonio College, and I'm going to have to speak in con of this resolution. Me and my board of teammates that have come with me all concur that we feel that the qualifications being established should be discussed with more than just the SSCCC board, and that we should be aware of the qualifications that we are ratifying prior to approving the resolution. As well as we have a general consensus that qualifications tend to be restricting, and we don't want to restrict associated student government more than we really have to. And like the SSCCC as well, we don't want to make leadership more restrictive. Yeah.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the Zoom queue for pro? Okay, in that case, the pro microphone.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jen Galanato. I'm a member of the Board of Directors. As in regards to the current requirements as they stand in accordance with Administrative Policy or Procedure and Board Policy 2005, it is made available to everybody here if you would like to look at our live binder. The current candidate requirements are as follows, not qualifications. The candidates must be enrolled in a minimum of 5 semester units per California Education Code, Section 7606. 60, and then additionally, we also note that candidates must be able to dictate a minimum of 15 hours per week to their position. Now, as under regards of qualifications and requirements that we are looking for, they are not currently enlisted, as they are more of desired qualifications rather than set. While it is oh, I'm so sorry, I'm losing my voice, everybody. While it is understandable that brought up by the point of the con that there should be consultation, there is already something out there, and it's voiced through the delegate assembly as well, as this is something where the delegates themselves can bring forth through the regional affairs director in the regional delegate assembly. There is an item where they can specifically discuss that. Not only that, we do need to keep in mind that we need to be in line with education, with the education codes as it stands right now, and the education code as stands right now for all of us in this room to be student leaders is a 2.0 GPA and 5 units. With that being said, I'll yield my time back over to the chair. Thank you.
Con microphone, please.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Yeah.
There we go. Good afternoon, everyone. I am a member of the SSCCC Board of Directors, Legislative Affairs Director for Region 3. I would actually like to speak against this resolution, as the 2.0 GPA and the 5 units is already incredibly restrictive, leading to non-credit students being locked out of student government. We're actually working on the legislative side as a SSCCC to amend this requirement. So I don't understand why we want to establish even more qualifications that would lock students out of student government, especially at the SSCCC level. I feel like we should be moving towards more inclusivity instead of exclusivity. I'm concerned because of the vagueness of this bylaws change, it gives the board of directors the right to decide whatever qualifications they want for membership. And I don't think that's appropriate. Thank you.
Chair, kind of a point of information.
I'm not sure we want to mention it.
Okay. Okay.
It is an issue that we would,
Right.
but
Yeah.
I don't think we need to mention
Okay. I just want to make sure it wasn't parliamentary issue.
Or, yeah, Chair, point of information.
it. Yes, point of information at the,
Yeah, just wanted to clarify on the language. So, would any future minimum qualifications have to go through General Assembly in order to be established, or is the authority given solely to the board?
okay, I'm going to have you repeat the question, please.
Okay. Can you hear? Would any minimum qualifications have to go through the resolution process in General Assembly or Delegate Assembly, or would the authority be given to the Board of Directors to establish the qualifications?
Okay. This resolution as printed would delegate the authority to the Board of Directors. That would not prevent anyone from submitting a resolution to amend or revise what the Board of Directors does.
Thank you.
Con microphone.
Hi, my name is Alette Lawton from Moore Park College. I'm not currently a delegate. I want to speak against this resolution because there was a similar resolution brought up last year with very specific qualifications that didn't pass because the delegates decided from last year that the qualifications were too restrictive, and so it didn't pass. And I'm concerned that this type of resolution would give the Board of Directors the power to pass something similar without having the vote of all of the delegates. Since currently we're struggling with having more people joining and we're trying to find better numbers from a lot of our colleges, I think having more restrictions from a Board of Directors would hinder that. So thank you.
Okay, there is someone in the Zoom queue for Pro. Do we, San Joaquin Delta College, if you go ahead and unmute yourself.
All right. Hi. I'm a delegate from San Joaquin Delta College, and I want to speak in support of the resolution. A point that was made by one of the cons was that even the minimum qualifications from the get-go, they're restrictive. I don't think they are. 2.0 GPA and 5 units, it's not restrictive. You basically have to have a D in one class or 2 if you're taking 3 units. And I think that the point of the qualification is to make sure that the student government is actually by students. Just a way to ensure that the people who are representing the students are actually participating in classes and actually experiencing the educational system and the resources from the schools that they're advocating for. And I think it's a good thing to have some levels of requirements to make sure that people who are applying for these positions are qualified. Will be able to maintain this position while also successfully completing your coursework and graduating from college. Thank you.
Before I go to the microphones, is there a con in the queue? Orange Coast College, please unmute yourself.
Hi, my name's Drea and I'm representing Orange Coast College, and I am personally against this resolution only because of the ableistic biases that having minimum qualifications would entail. And considering the California community college system is the biggest collegiate system in the United States, we should be focusing more on amplifying those marginalized voices within this system. Thank you.
Go to the microphone. Pro microphone.
Hello, I'm speaking for Pro.
Identify yourself, please.
My name is Harley Liggett, and I'm from Butte College. And I'm speaking for Pro because I feel like if these restrictions are causing you not to get the position, you might not be able to balance that with the workload itself. if you're not able to hold a 2.0 GPA, it's going to be really hard to balance your grades as well as holding that position.
Okay, Con microphone?
Yeah. Yeah. So, this is the delegate from Santa Ana College. Rather than making points of what the qualifications are, because this isn't what the resolution is asking for, they're not establishing what the qualifications are, it's establishing who the authority is to dictate what qualifications are. So the question in hand is not what the qualifications should be, but if that should be something that we decide as delegates, or if that's the board of directors should decide. And so I'm against it because this is something that we should be discussing as a delegate at a delegate assembly, and not just solely given to the board to dictate, because it should involve all of our input in terms of what the qualifications should be.
Chair? Chair?
Okay. Is there anyone in the Zoom queue? Oh, I'm sorry, point of...
Point of information. So we wanted to know, did the makers of the resolution have any qualifications in mind that the board of directors would probably approve? Because right now there isn't a lot of information on what kind of qualifications that are being mentioned or trying to be implemented for this resolution. So we wanted to get more information on the qualifications itself.
Right, I can answer that question. So there are, but the body chose that to send that back to the board of directors, the SSCCC board of directors, to make those determinations.
Okay, is there anyone in the Zoom queue?
Marco, is there anybody in the Zoom queue?
Okay. Pro microphone?
Hi, yes. My name is Brenda Abad, representing Bakersfield College. And me and my peers, we're talking about that restriction does not necessarily mean that we are not inclusive of students. In other words, so an example, we need someone who is studying at the college, right? That is one of the restrictions or restrictions that are talked about. And someone who knows the college, someone who is participating and enrolled in classes must or should be part of the process of making laws, bills, and all of this stuff, and is being participant in change in their school. So, yes, that's it.
Okay. Seeing, okay. There appears to be no one else at the, oh, I'm sorry, the Con microphone?
Yeah, I'd like to vote, or I'd just like to advocate for the Con. Right now, what we're looking to establish, what we're looking to vote on is to give the board of directors the go-ahead to establish minimum qualifications, but we're not specifying what those minimum qualifications are. And so basically we're giving them free will. If we say yes to this, we're giving them free will to vote on anything at that point that they come up with. And I think in order for this to effectively move forward, we'd need to establish what the minimum qualifications are. Thank you.
Chair?
One moment, is there,
Chair?
yeah.
Hello?
Con microphone, yes.
My name is Lisa Hogan.
Oh, I'm sorry, there. The interrupting microphone, yes.
My name is Lisa. I'm from Merritt College, and I am choosing to postpone this until, I move to postpone this until next General Assembly.
Okay. It's been moved to postpone this until the next General Assembly. Is there a second to the motion? There being no second, the motion to postpone is not before us. Time is up. We will go for the vote. This is a bylaw amendment, so it will take a two-thirds vote, two-thirds of those who actually vote. And we're going to be, because we have people both in the room and on Zoom, we will be using poll everywhere for all of the votes. So who's handling the poll?
Rosita will be handling the poll.
Rosita's handling the poll. So let's put it this way. I'm going to announce the polls are open, and someone will tell me when the polls are closed. Oh, I'm sorry. It's on the screen.
While we wait for the status of the resolution, I just want to advise everybody, feel free to talk. Oh, okay.
Before Jack continues, there's kind of a buzz in the room. If you could please hold it down a little bit. Thanks.
You took my comments away from me, Scott. Oh, yes.
Chair, point of, Chair, privilege of the assembly, could we not share the voting that's on the screen so that way it doesn't have undue influence?
It's public information.
Okay, thank you.
Bound by Brown Act. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
Combined.
Tell me if I step on your toes. Tell me if I step on your toes. It's getting in the way of the register from everything. Okay, cool.
Chair? Chair? Privilege of the assembly, may we ask for the image to be enlarged so people can see? We're having a little bit of difficulty.
Okay, 1 second. 1 second, please. Having difficulties at the podium hearing people at the mic, if we could please just kind of quiet the room a little bit, particularly while we're in a vote. Yes, please.
Privilege of the assembly, when we ask that the image be enlarged, we're having trouble seeing on the projector.
We appreciate the request, but apparently it's already at full screen. We will, of course, be announcing the results once the poll is closed.
There.
Yeah. Do we have that in our conventional? That's what I'm curious. We never established that. Dr. Adams, do we have a time limit for how long the voting room's open? Okay.
All right, let me have your attention. First of all, we're going to close the poll in just a moment. I do understand from the chat that there may be, it appears there may be a couple of people who are dialed in via Zoom who are having difficulties with poll everywhere. So what I intend to do is we will close the poll, determine whether the motion is clearly passed or not by a 2/3 vote or not. If the two people in the chat who are having troubles with poll everywhere at the moment, if their votes would affect the result, we will make arrangements to get them to vote. If it will not affect the result, we'll just announce the result while staff works on the technical issue. So that said, we're going to close the polls. Okay, the poll is closed. The motion is 21 yes, 39 no. Yes. So it does not receive 2/3, and it overwhelmingly didn't receive 2/3, so we're not going to worry at the moment about the people who are having technical issues with poll everywhere. So the motion, the resolution 220101 is defeated. And for those of you who are in Zoom and having difficulties with poll everywhere, staff will be assisting you in trying to resolve the technical issues. With that, your next resolution is S220102, SSCCC Mission, Vision, and Values. Again, that's another motion sponsored by the Board of Directors. Jack, who's presenting that?
Jen will be.
Oh, pro microphone.
Hold, please. Good morning, everybody. My name is Jen Galinato. I'm speaking on pro for the SSCCC's mission, value, and vision statement. As of right now, this resolution, as it states, as it's presented to all of you, is for the SSCCC to adopt its own vision, value, and mission statement. As of right now, if you look within our email signatures, I believe I've said this multiple times for many of you, is that our current statement as it stands for our mission is that it states to improve and empower while enriching the collegiate experience for 2.1 million community college students. With that, we look to expand that so that we really truly were representing all of our students as a whole. So when looking at the resolves more particularly, we are asking that you look at them to really ensure that we as a whole, as an organization that is a representative body of all of you as you elect all of these officers, uphold these values as enlisted within the vision, mission, and value statement of this resolution. I am trying to pull them up in front of me, so I apologize in doing so. So therefore, with this resolution, when you adopt it, it would allow the SSCCC to have its mission, vision, and value statements, especially given that the SSCCC is considered a 510c3 nonprofit organization. Many nonprofit organizations, as you will see, will have their own version of a mission, vision, value statement, and therefore with us looking as a very professional organization that represents higher ed under the scope of along with three other with our sister organizations. Therefore, that is why we are looking for all of you to adopt it. So again, we can truly and effectively represent each and every one of you alongside our system partners. So therefore, with this, we are just asking you to, again, look and adopt our mission, value, and vision statement. So we are in line exactly with that, especially with our rebranding purposes, as stated earlier. So with that being said, I'll yield my time.
Thank you.
Chair,
A question at the center mic.
point of information, Ashley Teague, Solano College delegate. I'd like to ask the author, what is meant by honoring equity and diversity in the first resolved?
Somebody have an answer to that?
Jen, would you like to answer that?
I was going to ask, can I?
Yes.
So I also looked at, so I do want to give some background information with this first before going in answering that question. There was an ad hoc created in order to oversee this. So I don't know if my other co-authors are in here in the room, unfortunately. Actually, one of them, no, never mind, none of them are in here. I believe the phrase was honoring, Delegate T, could you remind me what the phrase was once again?
Honoring equity and diversity.
Honoring equity and diversity as it's in line with our DEI efforts, diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts, as stated by VP Campos earlier on. That includes looking at our student grievances processes, ensuring that you as students are able to really and effectively use your 9+1 rights. There's a multitude of more that I unfortunately cannot remember off the top of my head. But we included that in there so that you as students know that there is an aspect when looking at our mission, value, and vision statement under more of the scope of our values, that there is something regarding our strides towards diversity, equity, and inclusion. It is meant to honor that exact part when we are saying that we are working on strides in achieving more diverse, equitable, and inclusionary practices for 2.1 million students across 116 colleges and 73 different districts across 10 different regions. I hope that does answer your question.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone in the Zoom queue?
Nope.
Okay. There being no one else at the microphones, ordinarily I'd open poll, but we're apparently still working on the technical issue with a couple of delegates who can't vote. So before I open the poll, let me just ask, are there any objections to adopting Resolution 220102? If there are no objections, we will adopt that while we continue. Oh, I'm sorry, this is a bylaw change. We need 2/3 vote. So we will take poll everywhere, and we'll do the same thing. One last thing I should just mention while it's fresh in my mind. I recognize some of these resolutions are very popular, others not. But because we have times on for each resolution on the speeches, if you could hold your applause down, because that steals time from the speakers. If you want to applaud, wait till the the vote results are announced. So with that, please open the poll on S220102. Oh, I'm sorry, there's a question at the center mic.
It's a transparent
just doesn't say it.
It's like our preamble.
Okay. All right. Looks like we've resolved that issue. So again, the poll is open.
Well, we already have a quorum and or 2/3, so what's
It's 2/3 of those who voted.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we have.
Okay. Yeah. So just let me know when it's time to close the poll.
All right, I will. Give it like a minute. We can close the vote.
Okay, it looks like we can close the poll.
It's 50. It's unanimous. 57.
I thank you for the applause for the great job I'm doing, but the results are 57 yes to 0, passed unanimously. The next resolution is S220103, equal student accessibility for broadband access and internet services. And if I recall correctly, yes. That one was passed on the consent agenda, so we will skip that one. And move on to S220104, elimination of Proctorio and proctoring systems. Again, this is by the Board of Directors. Pro Mike.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Jen Galanato. I'm a member of the Board of Directors, and I completely understand if you are absolutely sick of hearing my voice at this point because you've heard me for the past 3. So with this being said, with this resolution, I do want to note of the confusion that may have come about when this resolution was first put out. I do recognize and realize the controversy about this resolution. This resolution, I want to state, it would really, as I encouraged you all to really look at whereas number 3, and I'd like to really pinpoint on that more particularly. Proctorio and any proctoring system for any usage by any faculty members is just simply unequitable. It is not very diverse, equitable, and inclusionary of our students. With that system being used, it is ableist. It is also racist as well. If you look at the systems that were noted in the whereas, the very first whereas, we know ProctorU, Proctorio, Examity, and Honor Lock, as well as Responder Us. These groups have all been collecting your data as students in order to take your tests, as it is a proctoring system. There is no actual known way of how they are going to use that third-party data because it is when you give information third-party, I am so tired, you can clearly tell. When they collect your data, we don't know where that data goes because it gets disseminated to a third party, which we are known to who that could be. On the point about it being racist, ableist, and whatnot, in some cases where it's racist, there are students who clearly, or not clearly, excuse me, let me be a little bit more careful about my language here. There are some students where, depending on lighting or the color of their skin, they cannot access their tests because unfortunately they have a little bit more melanin than others. On the basis of where it's ableist is that you have to actually go and scan your computer in your room, in your space. That is not equitable nor accessible for a student who is in a wheelchair. That is also not accessible for a student who unfortunately has a disability of some form, some way. So with that being said, with this resolution, I'm looking to all of you to help me to eliminate Proctorio and any proctoring system as a whole in order to ensure that our system is truly diverse, equitable, and inclusionary for all 2.1 million students across 116 colleges in 73 different districts across 10 different regions.
Time.
Thank you, and I yield my time.
Con microphone.
Olivia Garcia Gomez Martinez from Sacramento City College, and I want to talk about, I'm a con, I want to talk about the ableist biases, and I have used Proctorio before, and it never had me move my computer to scan my room, because I have my computer in an area where it's can scam a whole room. So I don't understand why it said ableist biases or the issues around like having to scan your whole room. I've never had a problem. My fellow students have never had a problem. Thank you.
Chair, point of information.
Pardon me, but before I go to the point of information, we have a prior point of information in the queue.
Irvine Valley College Delegate Apoorva Gunti, you're recognized.
Thank you. I had a question regarding what the further alternative would be if we did remove proctoring, because I felt like the resolution did not provide sufficient information, or I just probably read it wrong. Thank you.
Jen, I'll answer this question. If I don't answer it fully, you can intercede. But the SSCCC does not have the authority to completely dictate to all 116 California community colleges to remove proctorio from their system. They can only advocate for it, and that is what this resolution is asking the SSCCC to do.
Okay. Request for information at the center mic.
My question's a little bit similar. Emily Gomez from Cerritos College. My question is, how can we maintain student integrity within online testing without violating student privacy?
Jen.
Thank you for that question, and I recognize that was also going to be a question that was going to be answered today. So each of the colleges do have an integrity pact or some sort of honor code. I would hope that your colleges have implemented that and that you as students also uphold that to the highest standard as well. When I'm looking at this resolution, my co-authors and I do recognize that was going to be a point brought up. So while it is questionable, right, I also do want to note that in this resolution as well, we didn't know any alternatives as asked with the previous question. So with the integrity part, it really just falls on two parties, the faculty in addition to the students as well. If it is passed by the SSCCC though, or I'm sorry, not the SSCCC, if it is passed by this board though, I can, oh jeez. I unfortunately don't believe I can speak too much to it, but that is something that we do recognize now looking at the resolution that we did not include earlier on. So again, I want to emphasize and reiterate that it does really fall again on the students and the faculty themselves, as there are ways that faculty can look at upholding integrity without using proctoring systems, as heard.
Okay. We're going to the Zoom queue for a pro. Rad Forum, unmute yourself.
Thank you, Parliamentary Chair and Brad Hill. I, Regional Affairs Director for RUMS, and pro for this proctoring to be eliminated. Thank you.
Yeah, I got it. Okay. All right. We have a request for information in the Zoom queue. Butte College.
Hi, Butte College Delegate Vang. I had a request of information of have you guys consulted with fully online colleges about how they keep student integrity?
Jen.
Thank you for your question, Delegate Vang. So one of the co-authors on there is actually a trustee for an entirely online college. She has been consulting with on her end and asking how students can be kept, how the honor code can be held to the highest standard on that. Unfortunately, she is not here, so unfortunately, I cannot speak too much on her behalf on how that is being done. I apologize for not having that information at this time, as my co-author is not here.
In the chat, we have a request for information, and that is
San Joaquin Delegate, Delta College Delegate.
Hi. My question was on the last whereas statement you have. It says, I quote, proctoring systems such as the aforementioned companies created multitude of issues such as racial and ableist biases, concerns over the compilation and usage of data and privacy and connectivity issues for students. My question here is, the citation that you include there is a link to another resolution that was passed at Berkeley City College. Do you have any other source of information for the claims you're making in this whereas statement?
Jen, can you answer that?
I'm sorry, I don't believe I understand what the request for information was. Now, was the request for information regarding the citation that was being used or the resource itself?
He was asking if there's any other information you could provide other than the citation from the resolution passed by another student body association.
Absolutely. So there are other citations that we have included in the resolution itself. In those citations, there are further citations that are also in there as well that we also implemented when writing the resolution itself. We couldn't list all of them because we wouldn't want it to be too lengthy of a resolution when it was turned in. I'm sorry, but this was a resolution that initially had 20 citations. We didn't want to include them all to make the packet very lengthy. I'm sorry, and I apologize for doing so on both of myself and the behalf of my co-authors.
Okay. Going to the center mic for parliamentary inquiry, and just for your information, there's 1 minute and 30 seconds left on the queue.
Okay, thank
Center
you.
mic.
Just a quick question. Oh, sorry, Mount San Antonio College delegate. My question was, why choose to ban proctorio in all proctoring systems rather than maybe choosing specific proctoring systems that have a trend, or specifically targeting the devices that are more discriminatory, alienating, and ableist? Because usually those options are up to the professors and staff to choose. Too much? Oh.
Jen?
Okay.
Thank you for your question. In regards to eliminating so when my co-authors and I were looking at it, we took those in addition to comparing it with 20 other proctoring systems and other forms of proctoring that were being used and implemented in the classroom session. While we do understand that staff and faculty do have academic freedom, we just found that simply enough that proctoring systems place too much of a burden on students, especially on the basis of it being as stated in the resolution itself. So therefore, by asking to eliminate them all, it would.
Okay, that's time. Okay, time is up. I
My-
recognize from.
Maya Mosley, Sierra College. I moved to extend time by 5 minutes.
Okay, there's been a motion to extend time by 5 minutes. I believe that was Sierra College, was it?
Yes, Sierra College.
Sierra College. Is there a second to the motion to extend time?
Second.
Seconded. Okay, the motion is to extend time for debate on this matter by 5 more minutes. That's a 2/3 vote. Let me just ask, first of all, is there any objection to extending time to 5 minutes? Okay, sounds like there's no objection? Okay, there is an objection, so we'll take a vote. Okay. So, it's a 2/3 vote to extend time, so because it's a 2/3 vote, we're going to use poll everywhere. So the motion before you is, shall the time for debate be extended by 5 minutes? Please go to your poll and vote. Oh, pardon me 1 second. Is it open? Shall time be extended 5 minutes? It's not open yet. Just give us a second.
The cons didn't even get to speak yet.
Poll is now open.
They cannot vote in the chat. Marco, you tell the Zoom participants they can't vote in the chat. Can you tell the Zoom participants they can't vote in the chat? They have to vote for poll everywhere. Okay.
Just let me know when it's done.
Yeah. We got 48 right now, so we have 4.
I can't imagine it take too long on something like this.
Jessica, what was the official count for today? What was the official count for today? Okay. I think we're good. We got it.
Okay. May I have your attention, please? On the motion to extend debate by 5 minutes, it is 49 yes, 13 no. That is a 2/3 vote. So time for debate is being extended by 5 minutes. Before we begin the pro-con, I believe there's someone with a question at the interrupting mic.
Chair, Delegate Mosley, Sierra College, I wanted a question for the author. If the switching of tabs is a way that teachers can monitor students without showing their face to see if they're cheating, is that something you're trying to tackle as a proctoring system, or is that a way that you can hold students' integrity for tests without looking at their face?
Yes, that is absolutely part of it.
Okay.
Thank you.
At the pro mic.
Pro, Ashley Teague, Solano College. This is a matter of equity. When our college is giving out laptops, Proctorio does not work on these laptops, so students are not able to take those exams that require Proctorio on those laptops. And I'd also like to share an experience that my friend went through in our Organic Chemistry 2 class. We had to use Proctorio as a monitoring system for our exams, and if we had any issue, we had to talk to the people at Proctorio. This exam normally takes 2 hours, but for half of the time, she could not answer these questions. And keep in mind, this is Organic Chemistry 2. It is a very difficult STEM class, and to not have that time, it's detrimental to your grade. I'd also like to add that our professor had to go through an hour's worth of footage watching her screaming at her laptop because their answers did not get recorded by Proctorio. Thank you.
Okay. Con microphone.
All right. I'm not here to argue that Proctorio doesn't have problems like equity problems or data usage and all those other concerns. But I personally believe that the resolve statements are way too vague, and they say full elimination of all proctoring systems. And I think that that would harm academic integrity, because it would not give schools the room to find, formulate, or choose a more fair and equitable proctoring system than Proctorio. And I think that would harm the academic integrity. I think that schools should be, I'm once again not here to say that Proctorio is a good system, but I think that schools should be allowed to replace it with something that's better. And this resolve statement says full elimination of all proctoring systems, which would not even allow it to be replaced with something better. So I think that that would just all around harm academic integrity.
Chaffee. Yeah. Okay. In the Zoom queue, pro Chaffee College.
Hello. I just wanted to make a comment regarding a student saying that their computer was put in an area so they can scan the whole room. I've taken a proctoral test for organic chemistry, and it asked me to specifically scan my whole room. So it does do that depending on the test, or I guess the parameters of the testing.
At the microphone, pro.
All right, pro Kevin Lee, delegate from Diablo Valley College. All right. The proctored exam is part of an experiment to see if the pedagogy of the classroom can be carried into our homes. The experiment, I believe, has ended. And what is clear now is that the proctored exam has no place in our education. The proctored exam is deprived of the quality, privacy, consistency of traditional exams, traits that exist in spite of their imperfections. It violates rights such as HERPA and the Family Act. All of this because our instructors do not trust us. The mistrust has cost us our privacy, our dignity, and even our futures. The truth is that there's no place for the pedagogy of the classroom in our homes. There's no amount of innovation that can force this pedagogy into our homes without severe consequences. Regarding the topic of academic integrity, it is time we rethink the way we perform virtual pedagogy. Virtual pedagogy, empowering students to pursue an education from any corner of the globe, has unlimited potential. However, virtual pedagogy
30 seconds.
is not the same as classroom pedagogy. As long as we model virtual pedagogy through the narrow lens of classroom pedagogy, this potential will never see the light of day. Thank you.
Thank you. Con microphone, you have 45 seconds left.
Con Cypress College. I think the scenarios that we created, that we fabricated about how being ableist and racist is insensitive. I think to make those claims, that you have to really back them up by something that's truly ableist and truly racist. Like the example that was given was about how, oh, someone's skin color is too dark and they can't be seen by the camera, or someone's in a wheelchair, they can't show like their test to the camera. Okay, what if there was like a person in a wheelchair? They were going to an in-person test, and the door of the slump was too large, and they had trouble getting in. See, we're creating all these scenarios of how it's ableist, how it's racist,
Okay,
but
10 seconds
it's
left.
truly not racist and ableist. Also, we're trying to transfer. We're trying to be credible. UCs, we want transfer. If we can't show them that we're actually taking real tests and being proctored, it's gonna,
Okay, time. Okay, that concludes our time for Resolution S220104, elimination of proctorial and proctoring systems. We will now open the polls for voting. And this item takes only a majority vote. The polls are open.
Feeling good?
Yeah.
Like back in the labor unit. Scott, members of the public can go to the parliamentary mic, right?
No.
No, they cannot.
You go to Procon, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, because of point of commission's motion.
Exactly, that's what I figured. I just haven't been straight answers.
I'll tell you this here, I've been looking for you for almost 2 years trying to find a real-time quick snap that I can just follow along. And
Have you ever thought about getting like implants or something?
it's not that bad.
Oh, really?
The problem is the echo from the sound system.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
I mean, I've got volume control on here, so I can turn it up and down.
Right,
It's the echo that's the problem. Tell me when to close.
There it is. Votes are still coming in pretty steadily, so we would like to come.
Sure. That's why we continue tomorrow.
Julie, Chuck Adams, are we going to end at 12:30 or 12:15? Are we going to end at 12:15 or 12:30? It says we end at 12:15. We'll go to 12.
All right, we're going to close the polls. What's our result?
70 in favor, 30, or 70% in favor, 30% vote.
Okay, It was 70% in favor, 30% opposed. You have adopted S220104, and I'm turning the chair over to your regular presiding officer for a moment.
So I just wanted to briefly give a statement. I know there has been some concerns about why we're having the parliamentarian chair today instead of myself. I just wanted to give a little bit of context as to why that is happening. I did feel like it was in the best interest of General Assembly today and for us to get through resolutions if we did have the parliamentarian chair, as I only found out that I would be chairing this General Assembly here today 3 days before the event. Due to no one's fault, there was an emergency with the originally scheduled chair, President Gerardo Chavez. I want to apologize for that. I do recognize how it looks, but we are still student-led. We did just have, at the beginning, we provided that information that Scott Burns will be serving as the facilitator of the resolutions voting section. And it is still student-led, as he is consulting actively with myself, my peer Jack Hill, as well as all of our other student, not panelists, our student helpers here today, such as Marco Martinez over there, not on the minutes, but keeping track of the online pros and cons. So I just want to say thank you to all of the students here. Also, for anyone who did have that concern, I just want to acknowledge, I want to acknowledge what you said and affirm what you said. There could be a very real concern there, but I just want to assure you that this is still student-led. We're here facilitating and trying to make sure that, in case there is an issue or a question that needs to be answered, such as a point of information, that those decisions are not being made solely by, the parliamentarian, but also in consultation with me as the regular chair today, and as well as Jack Hill and every other member here today supporting the resolutions voting process. Thank you. And I'm going to turn it back over to Scott Burns to bring us to the next resolution.
Thank you, Angie. And I do want to just clarify, because it's possible some of you, particularly those in the Zoom, didn't hear the announcement at the beginning. But, if a request for information comes up, or a parliamentary inquiry or something, point of order, if it's purely a matter of parliamentary procedure, or if it's purely a matter of Robert's Rules and Order, a no-brainer, then I'll go ahead and deal with it. But if it has anything to do with the resolution itself, or the content, or the reasons why something is here, or anything that would ordinarily require the presiding officer to think about it a moment, maybe confer with someone before making a ruling, I will be turning those matters back over to Angie. So I will not be interposing myself on anything other than strictly Robert's Rules of Order or your own rules of procedure. So with that, the next item is S220105, Student Parent Survey and Data Compilation. Again, this is sponsored by the Board of Directors. Who is introducing this?
Do we have the author or the sponsor designated speaker for this resolution at this time to speak at the pro mic? Darius?
Yes, we do. We have Delegate Brent.
Awesome, great. Whenever you're ready, Heather.
Okay. And while she's approaching the mic, I do want to just clarify one thing procedurally. Anyone may address the body pro-con. However, when it comes to requests for information, parliamentary inquiries, only delegates can use the interrupting mic. Yes, please, at the pro mic.
Okay, thank you. So this is regarding S22.0105 Student Parent Survey and Data Compilation. I am one of the co-authors along with VP Campos. And basically what we're trying to accomplish here is that the state prioritize compiling data about student parents to be able to provide resources and services. And in the whereases, it talks about how this overlaps with efforts of diversity, equity, and inclusion. In terms of, I don't know, what else do you want to say? What else can we say? I'm trying to think. I don't know. I guess I can talk about myself. I am a student at City College of San Francisco and have been for 20 years. And I don't think my journey in higher education would have taken as long as it has had there been resources available for student parents such as myself. And I don't know what individual college efforts are, or, but I'm hoping that as a state we can prioritize student parents and support them.
We have a request for information at the center mic.
Yes, this is Avinash Ramaswamy, Santa Ana College delegate. Just a request for information in terms of how long we are deliberating based on the agenda and the fact that lunch is being served right now. Just wanted clarification on that.
I'll answer it. So we actually just had this discussion, and we figured since we want to minimize the amount of noise while we're trying to conduct resolutions, we will end after this resolution and break for lunch in order to accommodate the concerns that you brought up.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay, is there anyone in the queue?
No. Oh, wait, yes, we have, or it's a pro. But it's a pro.
Oh, okay.
Chair?
We have a
Chair?
request for information at this time.
Oh, yeah, the request for information at the center mic.
Ashley Teague, Solano College. I want to know, or request for information to the author, will this be optional and can students opt out of answering this question?
Direct that to the speaker for the resolution. Heather, did you hear the question?
Yeah, I did. Thank you so much. I appreciate the question, and I think it's a great one. And I'm not sure that it's something that this resolution currently touches on, to be honest. But I would hope that if we were a part of making sure that we're gathering information from students, that students not feel obligated to answer these questions should they not want to.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, we still have some time left, but there is no one at the con mic or in the queue for con. So if there's
Chair?
no objection, I'm sorry.
I have a
Oh, I'm sorry. Point of information at the center mic.
Marie Therese Mawa, delegate for Palomar College. I was wondering how this information is going to be pulled, if it's through FAFSA or the DREAM Act or some form like that, and if it's voluntary or involuntary.
Would the author like to answer that?
I think I heard part of the question and maybe not all of it, but no, not necessarily through FAFSA, because I think part of what the resolution addresses is that some information is already pulled through FAFSA, but that doesn't mean that all student parents are eligible for financial aid, so we need data compiled from other places as well, and I think the intention is through CCC Apply, when you apply.
Thank you.
Okay. At the con microphone.
Hello. So, let's see. I don't support this because I feel like it's singling out certain type of parents, and it's not acknowledging all parents. Parents that don't have custody, parents that are fighting for custody.
Pardon me, if you could, yeah, I was say point the
sorry.
mic up. We're having difficulty hearing you.
Yeah, so it's singling out certain parents. Down at the bottom, at this first resolved, it doesn't specify, et cetera. And there are there are parents without custody. There's parents that are fighting for custody. There are parents who are paying child support that don't get included in this, that don't have custody. And I just don't think it's fair that it's singling out just those type of parents, pregnant or people that got their kids. So that's all.
Okay. We have a request for information at the center mic.
Chair, Nigerian Peoples, Antelope Valley College. I would like for a point of information.
Yeah, go ahead.
In the first, in resolved, and it says et cetera at the very end. And we would like for et cetera to be defined in what kind of services. It says other identifying factors at the time of enrollment and each subsequent semester, such as the type of parent, pregnant, single, and working, and et cetera. We would just like for that to be defined. What does et cetera mean? What services are they providing? And does that mean shared custody or what?
Heather, could you hear the question, or would you like him to repeat it?
Yeah, repeat it, please.
If you could repeat the
Please
question,
repeat the question. And if we could try to keep the noise down a little bit, I know it's difficult while the food is being served.
Can you define et cetera, and the services that they're providing? It's in the first resolve, at the very end, the last word.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think that part has to be worked out or figured out in terms of what would be included in the et cetera. I don't think that's for me to necessarily say personally. And then, I don't know if that gets at the whole question.
Okay. Going to the Zoom queue for Pro, Rad 4 Rumpf.
Thank you, Parliamentary Chair and Hill. Director Hill, I am for the parenting data survey and data for this bill. Thank you. And in full support.
Okay. There are no cons in the queue. We'll go to the pro microphone. Oh, I'm sorry, con at the microphone.
Chair, delegate from Taft College, I will speak against this resolution as it is a violation of privacy and infringement of personal information. I will not speak on behalf of all colleges, but my college, there are privacy forms and waivers regarding our academic progress in which states students is the only ones who may have access to their personal information.
Okay. All right. In the Zoom queue, the request for information.
Delegate Vang.
Hi, a request of information of what does this legislation do to make life better for students?
Heather, did you hear the question?
No, I'm sorry, I didn't.
Right, I'll repeat it. So what does this resolution do to make life better for students?
So I think that without this, we can't do anything to make anything better. It's a step in the right direction. It's not the end all be all, but yeah.
Okay. Okay, we have 2 minutes. Pro at the microphone.
Good afternoon, everyone. I actually helped consult in writing this resolution, as well as I am a member of both bodies that sponsored it, the City College of San Francisco, as well as the Board of Directors. I myself am not a student parent, but I have met many incredible student parents, including those in student government, like President Brandt right here from my local ASB. And I know all the struggles that they go through and how difficult it can be. I struggle with my classes, and I don't have to take kids to school or change diapers or do any of that. This is a step in the right direction. Currently, the Chancellor's Office collects a litany of data on California community college students, but we have no student parent identifier. Just like how we have optional questions for race and ethnicity on community college applications, we want to add this to those applications so we know where to help student parents. This is the first step in finding ways where student parents need our help and assistance. That is the purpose of this resolution, and we really just want to learn more about what our student parents need, and we can't do that without this data. So I urge you to vote yes on this resolution. Thank you.
We're going to go to Con first.
Please hold the applause down. We have a point of information. Brett.
They were already recognized.
They've already been recognized. Con microphone.
Yes, Oseas Garcia from Palomar College.
And you have 30 seconds.
I would like to make a comment towards this resolution. It does not specify the timing. So it does not specify if it has to be done yearly or semesterly. As well as some community colleges may not be able to fulfill it in time and might have outdated data. Thank you.
10 seconds left.
Okay, there's 10 seconds left.
Santa Rosa Pro.
Santa Rosa Pro.
Hi, my name is Maddie Cottrell. I'm the delegate from Santa Rosa, and I'm speaking in favor of this resolution. I think that there is a problem statewide with California community colleges understanding who their students are. And as a returning older student myself, I have found that the lack of data around many aspects of real student life in the state a problem. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Chair?
That's all the time we have on this item. Okay, before we go to the poll, there is a request for information at the center mic.
Sorry, Chair. I was going to move to extend time by 5 minutes. This is Delegate Brandt from City College of San Francisco.
Okay. There's a motion to extend time by 5 minutes. Is that seconded?
Santa Rosa seconds.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to extend time by 5 minutes. Let me just ask before we go to the poll, are there any objections to extending time on this item for 5 minutes? Okay, seeing no objections, time is extended for 5 minutes. And we had, was there someone in the queue before I go to the con?
No, go to
Okay. Con microphone.
This is Mahalia Swires from Butte Community College. I would like to speak on the con side of this resolution due to the fact that there are only we need to protect students as much as we want to also benefit them. And coming from personal experience, not all students are comfortable coming forward with information about if they are parents, because they can be in tough situations like domestic violence. So I think that trying to encourage these parents to come forward is something that can be done without asking questions. It can be done in a more private setting in between counselors and students if the colleges are wanting to learn more information. Thank you.
A question? Oh, okay. Okay. In the Zoom queue for Pro, was it Westmore? Westmore College.
West Hills College, Lemoore.
Got it.
Delegate Rodriguez, are you there? All right, let's move on. Should we move on now?
Yeah, we'll move on. Okay, we'll go to the con microphone then.
Con, Ashley Teague, Solano College. This is asking invasive questions of students, such as asking if they're currently pregnant at the time of answering the survey.
One moment. If we could have a little more quiet in the room, please. We only have 2 more minutes on this item. Go ahead.
With this current resolution, it says that students who are pregnant would also have to answer this, and that it's an invasion of women's health privacy. And also, with it not being ensured that it can be optional, I would like to move to postpone this resolution until the next General Assembly.
Okay, there's a motion to forward this, to postpone this to the next General Assembly. Is there a second to that motion? Okay. It's been moved and seconded to postpone this to item to the next Assembly, 220105. We'll be ready to open the poll in a moment.
Wait, can they not object? Can they not object?
Yeah, so let me ask this actually. Angie, one second. The motion is to postpone to the next General Assembly, but I don't think that.
Marco.
Every assembly.
Fissa, are you taking it over? Don't call on the West Hills College delegate, because that's not the verified delegate for West Hills College.
Okay, may I have your,
I don't think I should be the one to decide that because I'm on the resolution. Okay. I'll let you decide.
all right, if I may have your attention for a moment. Okay. As your temporary presiding officer, first of all, I should mention that I've conferred with Angie on this. But as your presiding officer, I would rule a motion to postpone this item to the next General Assembly not in order. And the reason for that is each General Assembly is an event in itself, and you have procedures for how resolutions come before the General Assembly. It can be appropriate to move to postpone something to the board to do some research and maybe bring something back. But in convention rules, you cannot just postpone something to the next convention because each convention is independent. I did advise that to your vice president. She feels uncomfortable making a ruling on that because she's, as a member of the board, she's actually on the motion. So that said, as your presiding officer pro tem, I'm going to rule the motion to postpone out of order, and we will instead go for the vote, open the polls on the motion, on the resolution itself, recognizing, of course, if it's adopted, it's adopted. If it's rejected, then of course it can be reintroduced at the next General Assembly. I also want to explain that this is not a slam dunk issue, and so if someone wants to take issue with the ruling of the chair, they can appeal the ruling of the chair, and then the majority in the room will decide. Is there an appeal of the ruling of the chair? All right. In that case, we'll open the poll on the motion S220105.
I move that.
I'm sorry.
Chair, I move to refer this resolution to the Board of Directors for discussion and debate at the next General Assembly.
Okay, the motion is to refer this to the Board of Directors for discussion and debate, and for them to prepare an appropriate resolution at the next General Assembly. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, is there a second to that motion? Okay, it's been... Right. So it's been moved and seconded. I'm going to repeat it so that we can get it on the screen. So the motion is to refer Resolution S220105 to the Board of Directors for further study, and either a report or a resolution be brought back to the next General Assembly.
Second from Mount San Antonio.
Brought back to the next Assembly. So we're going to get this on the screen in a moment, but again, let me just clarify.
If somebody would like to object, they cannot do that at this time. They can't do that at this time.
Okay, so let me just explain. So the motion is to refer the resolution S220105 to the Board of Directors for further study, with the Board of Directors either to report back to the next General Assembly,
Chair?
or to introduce a resolution to the next General Assembly. So that's the motion. Request for information on the center mic.
Hello, Imperial Valley College, Javier Melara, delegate. I'm wondering if we're going to have time to discuss this motion right now.
Okay.
Point of order.
One moment.
To debate.
Okay, so here's what we're going to do. Okay. We're in the lunch break, but debate on this item is closed completely. So the only thing left to do is to A, vote on the motion to postpone. If that's adopted, the motion will be postponed and referred to the board. And I say motion to postpone, it's actually a motion to refer to the board. If the motion to refer to the board fails, then we would take an up-down vote on the resolution itself. There is no further debate, so I don't think we need to worry about the noise in the room from you eating. So we are going to open the, and we're not, it's the last board item, and we don't have a special program for lunch. So we're going to continue for a few more minutes. We're going to open the poll on the motion to refer to the board and see what happens there. If necessary, vote on the resolution. And at that point, we will then, of course, recess for the program or adjourn until tomorrow morning. So right now, are we ready for the open poll on the motion to refer? Are we open? Okay, the poll for referring to the board and report back is now open. Okay. Let me just clarify in case there's any confusion. Autocorrect caught us, but we can't fix it. So that should be for further study, not further student.
Apparently I have 54 so far, so apparently I have 54, so I'd like to see 62. We have 62. I think we can call it. It's 40 in favor, 22 opposed.
All right, the poll is being closed. On the motion to refer, it is 40 yes, 22 no. So S220105 is being referred to the board and with instructions either to report back to the next delegate assembly or submit an appropriate resolution. And with that, I turn the podium back over to Vice President.
All right, thank you everyone. We got through our board-sponsored resolutions.